everyone, welcome back to the Mind of an Interior Designer podcast. Today I'm joined by interior architectural designer Liv Hopkins.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So basically I just want you to tell everyone about yourself, your journey in interior design. Obviously I know you did a degree in it. So just give everyone a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Olivia, but a lot of people call me Liv. So I'm an interior architectural designer. So I did my degree at Nottingham Trent Uni in interior architecture design. And then from there, I've been abroad, I've been worked around the UK, and I'm finally back in Liverpool, because Liverpool's where I'm from. But yeah, really, I've always loved interior design and architecture. Originally, I wanted to be an architect when I was younger. Used to love all of the buildings in Liverpool, so like the Liver building. I used to be obsessed with it when I was younger. And I always loved architecture. You know, when you walk into a room or a building, for example, if you walk into a cathedral and you get this awe, I've always loved how buildings make you feel. And, you know, whether it's down to the finishes or fixing. So it was something that I've wanted to do since I was younger, really. And I worked towards it. And actually, when I did my A-levels, my tutors at uni used to say, considering you've always wanted to do it, you went off on completely different fields. So, for example, a lot of interior designers or architects, they go to do foundation degrees, they'll maybe do art. Some of them do sort of woodwork techniques, whereas when I was at school, I did Spanish, English and textiles.
Nice.
So they were the ones I was good at the time, and I loved it. But because of the A-levels I did, I originally wanted to go to Glasgow University, the School of Art of Glasgow.
Oh, nice.
And that's really well known for architecture. But I got more points than the actual A-levels, so that dictated where I had to go in the end.
Oh, nice.
And I ended up going then to look from architecture degrees to interior architecture and design. So I ended up looking at Nottingham Trent University, which is sort of in the Midlands, if no one knows. Yeah. But the course there, it's for anyone who doesn't understand the difference between interior design and architecture. The course is sort of a mix of both. So we work alongside architects, architectural technicians, and we work on the basis of the building itself. So you're not just looking at fabrics, cushion covers and styling internally, you're also looking at the building itself. So you're looking at windows, doors, structural detailing. You do a lot of that. We focus on that a lot at university. And that was really where I then later got introduced to interior design as well. So that was the course I did. It was a 4-year course. And if anybody is looking to do anything like this at university, I'd recommend looking at something similar. You know, any sort of career that you want to do, if you can look at a 4-year course, because in that 4 years we had a year where we had to work in industry. And that really helped me.
Yeah.
Like when I started my course, because I did completely different A-levels, I was completely behind everyone else. All of my friends were just naturally good at architecture. And even my tutors, I used to have some really laughable conversations with my tutors because they'd just look at me. We had to do model making. So you'd be like working with like cardboard and stencils, and you'd be stenciling in windows, cutting out small details and building architectural models from scratch.
I've seen them on your Instagram, actually. They're really amazing. They
Well,
must have took you forever.
Yeah, and with our course, everything was by hand. So you were learning how to do drawings from hand, build like the models of your buildings by hand. There was no AutoCAD, laser cut, none of that. It was all glue and basically like scissors wherever you needed, which I was horrendous at to begin with. And my tutor actually said to me, "You've got a lot of catching up to do." But I had a really good support system at uni. All my friends really supported me. We all supported each other. And then the third year, which is where I went and worked in different companies, was really where I expanded my knowledge, really got into it a lot more.
So was that like your year out? You got to go
So
into
like
the
your
industry?
year out, yeah. So a bit like an internship, say in America, or an apprentice. So you're not paid a lot, but you go in and you learn. So I did, I think it was about 6-7 months in Milan in in a
wow.
company over there, and then came back and actually got a position in a company called BYA Architects in Liverpool. I was meant to be there for 2 weeks and lasted for 9 months, and I went straight back to uni. So it's definitely a valuable skill. I learned absolutely everything. So in Milan, they were Soraya and Moroni, so they're an interior architects and furniture company. So I'd never done furniture before. So they did luxury interiors. So they were like mansions, yachts.
That must have
They
been
worked
amazing.
alongside,
I'd love that.
architects. So, anyone that you can think of that's a big name in architecture, they worked alongside to create just amazing furniture. Now, if you didn't have an eye for interior design, you would think, what is that table? But if you're into design and you loved it, it was one of them companies that it was just a valuable experience.
Yeah.
Plus going abroad, had to learn a new language, no one spoke English.
Do you feel like you know a bit of it now? Could you speak a bit
No,
of
a
it?
little bit.
A little bit.
But a little bit. It was years ago. I couldn't do it a lot again
God.
now. But it's just a valuable experience that you never really get back. And then even coming back to Liverpool, I worked for a company that was more architecture. There was no interior designers in there. And I worked with the architectural technicians and RIBA qualified architects. So they were two completely different worlds, and they were doing sort of residential designs from mass schemes, around the UK to then luxury residential units as like bespoke one-off pieces in Liverpool. So it was completely different ranges. I learned so much software there, and it just prepares you for when you go back to university. So I'd recommend that to anybody, whether they're doing design, any other course.
Yeah, it really sounds amazing. Sometimes I think, I wish they'd done interior design because I did business. But so what is the difference then for anyone who might know between because obviously you can do spatial design, which is basically interior design, and then there's architectural design.
Yeah.
So what's the difference, and is any one more helpful to get into the industry, or both quite similar? What would you suggest?
Depends what you want to do. If you want to work for example, I don't know, a small interior design firm or a shop, for example, where they then say, come in and we'll design your home for you. And you're mostly working with furniture and fabrics and finishes, such as carpets, wall paints. You can do an interior design course, online, whether at university. If you want to take it one step further and actually learn about the structural beams, the finishes of a building externally as well as internally. So you're doing architectural drawings with metal work, concrete, all of that, and you want to learn the ins and outs of it, then I would go and look at architectural design as well as interior design.
Do you feel like you've got a broader knowledge in knowing that now, because you're sort of working outside in, and as you said, you love looking at the buildings, because a lot of people find that obviously interiors is amazing, but unless you've got that sort of tin can or whatever it's made out of, you've got nothing inside, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, it was a completely different approach. I mean, I had a completely different understanding of it, of course, from the beginning to the end. But the course that I did, and I think speaking to a few other designers, some other courses are quite similar. They really make you focus on spaces architecturally first before you think about finishes. So they strip it back to basics. So, for example, if you're in a long corridor with a small window, what does that make you feel like?
Yeah.
And that's what many architects start as.
Nice.
And then, a lot of architects firms will solely focus on that and then bring interior designers in, maybe at the beginning, halfway through, to then do fixings, finishes, furniture. So it completely depends what stage you're at and what you're interested in. If you're not interested in, architecture of buildings, concrete, and you're more with the texture of carpets, you love furniture, styling rooms out, then I'd say maybe interior design.
Yeah.
So it completely depends on your personal preference.
Yeah.
But I think there's options out there, for either.
Yeah. So going back to what you said, because you felt like you were behind before you started.
Yeah.
Do you think interior design, architectural design, do you think you've got to have, because I've had a lot of guests on who've said you've got to have a natural eye for it, but do you feel like you can work on it? Because I know a lot of people feel worried that if they were to start studying design or get into it, they haven't got a chance, if they feel like they haven't got a clue? Do you think that doesn't have to be the case?
I think you need to be creative in some sense.
Yeah.
So you could be in any industry and have some sort of interest in interior design, even if it's whether, you know, you're designing your own house or your own living room, for example, in lockdown.
Yeah.
And you've said, oh, you know what, I really like interior design.
Yeah.
Where can this take me? You need to have an interest in being creative, because you really get pushed in all sorts of fields studying interior design.
It is
or
very
architecture.
broad, isn't it? Like
it
is
very broad, but
aspects.
No, definitely. I think you can catch up. It's knowledge. At the end of the day, it's like any industry. It's always ever changing. Technology brings out new materials on a daily basis. There's always going to be things to learn. And of course, some people get a head start other than you. Like a lot of my friends, they did foundation courses. So I think it's called art and design foundation course perhaps, and you can do it at college for a year. If it's something you're interested in, maybe do that first before you go to university. You know, it depends. I didn't want to waste a year. I wanted to go straight into uni and start it all.
Yeah.
And I had to catch up at uni because of it. But if it's something you're interested in, maybe do that. I know my friends, they had a basic understanding of architecture, finishes, spatial planning, making models, which I had no clue about. I'd gone from textiles, which was sewing, to then go into the woodwork
and cardboard cutout
industry, cardboard cutout, spatial planning, working with ink pens, and then getting thrown in the deep end in sort of third year with technology like AutoCAD. So you do have to, I mean, it's with any industry, you do have to put the work in.
Yeah, and as you say, it's forever changing. Like what you learnt now, you mightn't like do now, because I know, like, obviously, like the future of technology, as you say, AutoCAD and that, everything's just continually changing anyway. So anyone starting a course now could be doing something completely different to what you did anyway. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's, again, you know, there's so many different avenues you can get into it. Shay at Studio McGee, I know when she started out, she didn't have any knowledge of software skills, but she has an eye for interior design. She could work with clients one-on-one.
That's literally me.
She could buy products, and that's how she expanded from there. And then when she needed the technology, she then hired designers who had the knowledge of all the software and brought them in. And, you know, for anyone who doesn't know Studio McGee, they're an absolutely huge company in America. She actually had I think it was a marketing background as such, but a husband or partner at the time also worked in business, so she did have a helping hand with that. But she's completely expanded. She's got, you know, her own interior design company. She sells furnishing. She's got a Netflix show.
If you haven't watched that Netflix show, by the way, anyone needs to watch that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
She literally just had an Instagram page and it started from there.
But have you read the book?
No.
Oh, Make Life Beautiful. You need to get it.
I've seen it. Well, people like who are on Instagram use it just for styling and never read it. I've seen it.
People use it for styling,
like most of these interior books.
I think it didn't get, I think it's only been out a year or so maybe, but I got it in lockdown. So interesting to read. Really? She explains the full journey of her and her partner, how they started to where they are now. And you don't realise the journey behind so many of the things. Like, she had her own YouTube channel before she even went into TV. And just filmed herself on there, and then she got interest.
Sounds like me. This could be my new book.
Exactly. So, you know, you don't know really. It just shows there's so many avenues to it. So definitely, it's one of them. Really, I think if you're eager to do it, you've got an interest in it, you'll pick it up. some way or another.
Definitely, I think anyone who wants to go for it should as well. Like, even like you going for that course, like you could have been like, oh, feel a bit like behind, but you still went for it and you still continued doing it, like regardless, because you were passionate. And that's like a key word. I think whatever field you're in, whatever you love, if you're passionate, you'll just do it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. There's challenges in every single industry and everyday life. And I think I always try to be outgoing and try and push myself if there's a new challenge there. And I know previously it's really helped me. Like, if I hadn't been open to applying for positions abroad, I mean, for example, for this, the job that I got for Italy, I applied for it in the middle of university. 6 months went by, didn't hear a word, and then they rang me and said, you've got the position, we need you to start in 2 weeks. So you need to be open-minded and just sort of go with the flow. But if it wouldn't have gone there, I wouldn't have got my other positions when I came home, because I learned software and skills whilst I was there, that actually, when I then advertised my CV for opportunities at home, someone called me and said, we need a visual designer to do the houses. We haven't got time to do ourselves. Can you just come in and work on this project for a couple of weeks? Which I then did, and worked at BYA, and then they just needed help with other projects, and I was there for the 9 months before going back to uni. So it does depend. I think any experience is just invaluable, really.
But that Milan one must have been something else.
Yeah.
That must have been such, like, I don't know, just an inspiring place to be. Like, surely the design there is just like, I mean, obviously it's gorgeous here, but like that's just, you know, a different level of like working and things. Like, and 2 weeks notice as well. Like, it's throwing yourself right into the deep end there, isn't it?
Even if, you know, you're into fashion or art, it's just one of those cities. It's got everything there. They have the fashion weeks. You know, you can go. Museums are just unbelievable. A lot of them are 3 that you can just walk into. The city itself is walkable, so anyone that loves culture, art, design, anything, go. Even if it's a weekend.
Did you go to the Milan Interior event that they had, or was you not there for that?
Immobile, I think it's called. It wasn't on while I was there. I just missed out on it.
I'd love to go there. That's like my dream. It's on the bucket list. I was supposed to be like booking it, you know, when we went into lockdown. And like, because Italy were like the first to get like hit.
Really
Imagine
bad,
if it went, honestly.
No, really. I think everything got cancelled, fashion shows.
Yeah, it did.
Just,
I'd love to go there though.
Well, if you go, let me know. We'll go. We'll have a design trip.
That'll be amazing.
It's definitely anyone that's into interior design, it's the place to be, because all companies unveil the new designs, the new furniture schemes, and then it's obviously where the trends come from there. So for any designer, it's good to go.
Amazing.
We'll have to sort that.
I know we will.
Yeah.
First trip.
I know. Ryanair flight later.
I love that. So do you feel like inspiration, where do you get it from? Because I know you love travelling, so being a part of that must have been amazing. And you're obviously into your fashion and things like that, so that must have been like something like amazing for you to do.
Yeah, so inspiration. Again, my tutor used to say, when you were stuck at university, couldn't get any idea, get up and go for a walk outside, whether that's, you know, around your apartment, in the park, down a street. And he said, you'll find inspiration from somewhere. And I think it's so true. You don't realise you could meet someone on the street that says a certain thing to you. You know, nature's a huge inspiration in design.
Yeah. Do you find that for you? What's your like biggest one?
My biggest one, if I'm looking at colour schemes and things like that, definitely I'll look at fashion and also travel, but that's for me personally, because they're on the other side of design, 2 of my favourite things I obsess over. So for example, if you're looking at a scheme, like for example for hotels and certain things, they want a certain feel. So if there's something that I'm designing, for example, a bedroom, and I think, I want it to feel a certain way, I want to go in and feel relaxed, or I want to go in and feel inspired, a lot of the times I'll look at places where I've been, or even Google it if I haven't been, and if there's a vibe that I like there, that I love, I won't try and copy it exact, but I'll be inspired from it and say, well, I love the colour scheme of this, love the materials you've used, okay, the lighting's like this, and go from there really. Again, with fashion, prints, you know, fashion's ever changing, style, structure, so I go from there really. Obviously it depends what the client is, and what I'm doing for myself, but it's a bit of everything. I love nature, makeup, fashion, interior design, you know, architecture.
We were talking about that actually, funny enough, about how it's sort of not like frowned upon to like say, like as you said, like interiors and like makeup, 2 polar opposites that people think can't link in any way, which I think's not the case. I think you could find a gorgeous look on a makeup artist has done. I can draw inspiration from that. I've seen people do like wild like eyeshadows and gone, oh my god, could you imagine that as a room scheme?
Exactly.
It's going out the box, and it shouldn't be frowned upon, should it? They link so much.
It's all, at the end of the day, it's all colours, it's all shapes, to put it back to basics. And I think it should be more seen upon as I think it's more so for if you're going for jobs or in businesses. If you've got other hobbies outside of work, sometimes it's frowned upon. So like I did a makeup course myself because couldn't do makeup whatsoever. Thought I need to learn how to do makeup when I get older, and did it, and then just started doing it on the side. And I mentioned it, or it was on my CV, and I got asked, well, why are you doing makeup on the side? That's nothing to do with interior design. You know, is interior design something you want to do? And I explained, I said interior design is my full-time passion, but that's a part-time passion. You know, it's a hobby. I've turned it into maybe, you know, a small hobby that's lasted for a year. But I think, you know, people have their hobbies. Yeah. People have the different industries. There's so many huge creatives in every industry that's gone from one sort of design lifestyle to another. So, for example, you've got I know Scott Barnes, he's a huge makeup artist. He studied as a fine artist to begin with and then went on to makeup, you know, and you've got fashion designers. There's quite a few who did architecture degrees, decided to go into do fashion. So
they are very similar with the technical drawings, and you'd be surprised.
You need to have an eye.
Yeah, and all these big like fashion designers, they actually start off with a building. Like, you know, when they build, like making these extravagant couture dresses, they actually look at a building and then put it over like the figurine. I'm not really into that, but the figurine they have, and they draw the building around it and then build the dress off that. So actually, interior architecture, people don't feel has this big influence to our lives, but it's actually the foundation, I believe, to everything. So everything does link, doesn't it?
Definitely, I'd say so. I think, you know, so many people. I mean, even we both love Kelly Welster. Is it Welster? I said it right.
I'm saying it. Design. Oh my god, I love her. She's like my icon.
Oh, I know. She's for anyone who's a female interior designer. She's just the boss of all bosses, really, for interior design industries. But I mean, her influence, she says, when she gets asked the questions of, well, how do you pick your style? Her go-to is look at your wardrobe, look at your fashion. How do you dress yourself? What accessories do you wear? You know, do you wear black colours? Do you go for pink oranges? Do you wear, you know, nudie colours?
Yeah.
Do you wear black and white? And she said, go from there. Reflect that in the interior and you'll realise actually you have got a personal style.
Yeah. Well, she does. When she posts her Instagram photos, she always posts herself in it, and whatever she's wearing matches the vibe of the space, and she does it so effortlessly.
Exactly.
But then I know people like who say what you wear, like you can look at someone and see what they wear, and then when you go back to the house, like that's what the house looks like. I can't relate right now because I've got the pinkest blouse on ever, and I would hate anything pink in my house. It's all white.
No, I'm exactly the same.
I don't know how true that is to a point. I can understand it for like inspiration, but
as an inspiration, as a starting point, but I think sometimes it can work. I mean, maybe, you know, like if you've got the biggest leopard print outfit on and you want to cover your whole room in leopard print, maybe might not work. I don't know. Just depends.
No, literally. But I like the idea of it though, and I think it is true, like to source inspiration as such. And obviously Kelly does it so like effortlessly. Like I just love everything about it. But like going off on like the whole inspiration, and like you said, like you see something and want that vibe. How can people get that at home? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that feature. So if they see something or they feel something, like I know a lot of people go on holiday and go and feel relaxed when they're there and feel escapism, and people want to bring that back home. How do you think people could actually bring that back into their lives on a normal like basis in interiors?
So really you want to go for the words that you feel first. So for example, you know, relaxed, safe. So people want to feel safe in their rooms.
That's a nice word, yeah.
You know, you go from the words, and I suppose if you're not into design, it might be hard to transfer over, but you go from there and think, okay, so for example, if you want to feel sort of relaxed on holiday, does that mean you want to be by the beach? Does it mean you want to feel like you can hear, you know, the waves? So, for example, if you do that as an example, you'd say, okay, well, a lot of beach houses have cool tones, or they'll have sort of rattan bamboo with pops of blue, you know, and it can come out in the artwork, whether it's in colour cushions, you know, beds, materials. And I think you go from there, really. So you think, so perhaps for a beach hut somewhere or a hotel on a beach, they might have linen because it's warm. And it's a little materials like that hotels do really well that you want to look at. So for when you're travelling and you think, if you walk into a hotel room and you think, I love this.
I think that's becoming more on trend now, though, because I think because people have lacked that holiday feel during this time. I think, you're finding these like high street brands like H&M Home, Zara Home, they're bringing these elements from holiday.
Yes.
Over, like you're noticing that in their accessories, the finishes, as you say, the linens.
Especially in the outdoor spaces as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it is available to people more than they think. Like you don't have to...
Yeah, it is. Even if there's a product that you like, that's a design, a piece that you will never ever be able to afford. If you Google exactly what it is, so for example, it's a polka dot lamp, or it's like there's a Kelly Wellston lamp that I adored. I don't know if you've seen it. It was white, and then it looked like it had small balls on it, and it was painted in white all over social media. Just ridiculously expensive. I'd never be able to afford it. But if you Google something particular like this, or even the Kelly Wellston lamp, there's always companies that will copy it to an extent or do their own style of it, and you might be able to afford that and then bring that into your scheme, and then you'll still have that sort of feeling. Obviously you don't want to copy it exactly, the whole perhaps room to room, but if there's small details that you like when you're in that hotel room or you're in that space that you want to bring back home, try and go for that. So I'd work with the materials first, and then obviously there's items that you can copy. Try and copy it as well.
I love the way you said use words first. I like that. I'll be robbing that idea from you.
Use words first, yeah.
I also love the way you said about the fact that other companies create like dupes, like obviously you're after the lamp. There's been a bit of debate lately on social media. I don't know whether you've seen it. Specifically, I know a girl who I follow was talking about Neptune Home, who you probably know and love.
Yeah.
They do create some amazing products for a high-end price. I wouldn't say extortionate compared to like obviously like Kelly Wrestling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like they are high-end, so they can't, like the everyday person could not afford. So they are, obviously there is dupes out there.
Of course.
Some people they're very opinionated about it and think that dupes should not exist. I disagree with that entirely, because I think everything is a dupe. That's my personal. Anything is from inspiration.
I do understand where people are coming from, because at the end of the day, if you've designed something and you've put your heart and soul into it, you've put a business into it, whether that's a dress, a lampshade, a cushion, it's successful, it does well. And then, months later, weeks later, whatever it is, other companies are copying it, and they're not giving you the appeal and saying, oh, your name, your company, you created this, but copying it for their own sort of personal gain. I do understand that side to it as well. But as a designer who obviously loves the high-end things but can't always afford it, I do obviously love the dupes as well.
I know.
So it's a hard balance. I think at the end of the day, design, everyone's inspired from something that's been before. Even new creatives creating new technologies, there's always something, unfortunately, that you may think it may be your own idea, but you've seen it somewhere else, and subconsciously you're not realising it.
Yeah.
And that's been a debate that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
So I do understand both sides to it, but I do love a dupe. I understand if you're personally, a brand maker, you're a creative, and you've done something, whether that's an artwork, anything, and it gets copied, exactly for a cheaper price, cheaper quality, then you must be absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah.
So I think, you need to, if you're going to do that, you need to give the, admiration where it's due and say, I've got the inspiration from this. And maybe the companies need to say, I'm happy that you've copied one extent from it, but you need to change the colour. But I suppose that's what copyright laws are there for as well.
I know. So, which is unfortunate for smaller businesses, I suppose, because they might not have that.
Exactly, yeah. They haven't got the backing. And these big companies, I know it happens a lot in fashion design and fast fashions. There's small businesses that have a certain dress, and big businesses will do it. brand it off as their own on social media and marketing, and it's suddenly huge.
Yeah, for about £2 a go.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking. I know a lot of people like crochet, like tops I've seen lately who are like, and they put them on like Shein for like £2 and they're going mad, which you would. So it's kind of like, I think in a lot of industries there is that conflict of interest to a point. But I know you like to shop in Home Sense, obviously.
Yes.
But you like finding antique pieces as well, don't you? You like finding like old pieces, which I love. Like, I love going to like a proper wreck of a place and finding a gem. There's no better feeling, but I don't know whether that's why like we quite like the find of Home Sense. Yeah. Like, designers love that. I don't know what I'm coming in for, but I'm going to find something amazing.
Exactly. I think I've always been into vintage shops and sort of antique shops since I was young. All my friends used to laugh at me. I'd turn up with some wacky outfit on.
Stop
and I'd be like, it's from the vintage shop. You can't, you can't shout at me. I've always been into it. And then obviously when I've been into interiors more, I love it. But it's also, I suppose, it links in with the travel. So I think if you can travel somewhere, find something that's a one-off piece, whether it's a table, a placemat, anything that you think I fell in love with it, it's an antique one-off piece, and you can bring it home and put it in your home or your place, your business, whatever it is. I think there's the emotional attachment to it. There's a story behind it, and I think that as well, it also makes your room as a whole aesthetically look a bit more pleasing, because every item hasn't been sourced brand new from a shop. I think if you can mix it up ever so slightly, it helps. And then of course there's also, sometimes you can get things a little bit cheaper, not always, antiques can be quite expensive. But it just adds a little bit more of a uniqueness to your style,
and character as well.
And character, yeah.
I thought that because on Sophie Patterson Interiors, in the new Netflix show,
yes,
she had a living room and it was all gorgeous, and then in like the cabinet at the back, she just had this one piece she got on holiday and she was like, it's ugly, but I can't part with it. Like, that's sometimes in people's houses, like, you find that one random piece and you're like, that doesn't even go with the scheme, but the story they have behind it means so much more than just buying something from like H&M Home. Do you know what I mean?
And a good designer will go in really and say, well, okay, if you love that piece, we'll wear around it.
Yeah, which a lot of the time you can do so well as well with their scheme.
Yeah. So I think it just depends really. But yeah, I love finding a little antique bargain or going into a vintage shop and finding something. Yeah. Just all my family get fed up with me whenever I go anywhere. I have to go and look around the shop.
No, I love that. Even when I'm traveling in the UK, if I see the most randomest shop of any sort, I'm like I need to run in. Do you know what I mean?
You need to have a quick look and see whether I can find anything.
No, literally. So you're doing interior design now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any projects you've got on the go that you want to share with anyone?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm an assistant interior designer. So in lockdown, I actually got a job at a company called Tribe. So they're a fitness company. So they have boutique gyms, boutique studios all across the world. Basically, they offer, it's like a next level experience. So it's not a gym that you go into and there's a treadmill there and you do your own workout and then you leave. You go in and then like there's a PT and you'll do the class there. But for my side, what I do, I design the studios, basically, changing rooms, reception point. They have something called a mixology, which is a bit like a cafe, so you can go and get either a coffee, protein shake, sit and socialise.
So you're creating more of an experience as opposed to a space.
Yeah, it's more of, instead of just going in doing your workout, you don't know anyone in there, you leave. It's more of an experience. You go in, you meet the trainer. You meet the people in the class. If you want to, you can sit and have a drink with them afterwards.
Yeah.
That's what I've been helping to create since I started there.
Oh, amazing.
So it's completely different because I've never done gyms or fitness before. But again, designs are also similar, but there's so many things you need to think of.
Yeah.
Like spatially, how far away does a treadmill need to be from a bike?
Yeah.
And you need to think of, well, if you're going in and doing this workout, if you're on the bikes first, then you're on the weights, then you're on this, you need to revolve the room around what you're doing.
Yeah.
But now it's a completely different experience for me, completely different side to design. And for like the design aesthetic, it's more industrial really.
Yeah. That must be so interesting to just discover something new and learn into something new.
It's completely different, and also because we design internationally as well, you've also got to think of building regulations abroad. So, for example, disability and access changes and varies from country to country. So you learn all about that from different countries, plus how different cultures work. Whether they need shared bathrooms or whether they need separate bathrooms. Things that we have to think about. And then at the moment, what we're working on some in Spain, some in the UK, and we've just designed it's me and one of my managers, we're the only two designers in the company, and I came in near the end of it. But we've just designed the Tribe HQ in Manchester.
Amazing.
So that's being unveiled over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to look at it next week.
That.
And it's going to be absolutely huge in the middle of Manchester. And it's where our office is also going to be as well. So we're going to be working from there. So you can go in and have your workout, have a coffee, have a sit, and then upstairs above, it's like a mezzanine level. That's where our office is going to be.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, so it is. It's exciting to say because I've done a lot of temp jobs and I've worked in different industries. A lot of designs, when you're designing them, they don't come to completion for like a year or so afterwards a lot of the time. And with this company, because it's more commercial purposes than I suppose home purposes, they get projects done a lot quicker than usual. So it'll be the first project really that I've helped to design that I can actually go and see in person. Because obviously sometimes with people's homes, you obviously can't just turn up and say, can I have a look? Or if there's been like big projects that I've been on, I haven't had a chance to see them, so this will be the first one.
Amazing. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
So at the end of the podcast, we always do a little bit of a segment. So I want to know, what is your guilty pleasure and what is your holy show? So basically something that you shouldn't like but you do, and something that you absolutely can't stand.
Okay, so I'll do the first one that I shouldn't like but I do. Don't know whether it's classed as this, but trends. I know trends have sort of mixed opinions.
Yeah.
For designers, some people love trends and some people don't. So the biggest trend that I'm loving is boucle. I adore boucle, and sort of the shell clam vibe that's going on in accessories, like a clam vase. And I know, they're going to be out of fashion. In
next month.
They probably already are in some people's eyes. But I'm still absolutely adore it. And I'll probably still love it in a couple of years. And I'll probably still want a boucle couch or something when it's completely out of date. But yeah, I love it.
Oh God. No, I feel like I'm going to be obsessed with for years, even though it'll be like vintage by the time next year comes. So
okay, we'll find in the vintage stores in a couple of years.
So what's your like holy show, which is something you can't bear?
Holy show, leopard prints one in terms of interiors. I know I have a skirt on, but in interiors, when it's a full scheme, maximalism to the full is not a big fan for me. And in terms of architecture, I know there'll be many people who will not agree with me, but I just don't like brutalist architecture. So like brutalist architecture, if you think locally, you think of the courts in Liverpool or the Echo building. I think it might have a different name now. But these big concrete brick buildings are quite blocky, geometric, small windows. They started in the 50s and up to the 70s. And I mean, they were made to created to make you feel a certain way and to make you feel a little bit small, but it's basically the vibe that it gives off. And obviously a lot of them are listed and they're going to be around for years. And I have friends who absolutely adore brutalist architecture because it's just concrete, it's harsh, the lighting's harsh, there's hardly any interior light in there. But for me, I just don't like it.
It's just not a vibe.
Not a vibe for me.
No.
Well,
at least you're honest. If anyone hates, then it's on them, really, isn't it?
I know.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
No
I will leave all of Liv's details below and her social so you can follow her projects that are coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. Thank you.